be a pretty good addition to FaZe, and Cameraman, even though there was a rough outing with MIBR in their matchup against Singularity, Singularity's been a bit of an anomaly here, so who really knows exactly how Cameraman's going to fit in? He was always a particularly strong player for FaZe, and I would imagine that he's going to bring that to MIBR. Now, we do turn our focus towards the map ban phase. Cafe is vanquished, so we don't have to worry about playing it for a third time today, at least not yet. And interestingly enough, it's going to be Consulate. This is the map that INTZ played on Tuesday, got walloped by FaZe Clan. So it is very interesting that INTZ is focused on coming back here.
Yeah, definitely an interesting decision. I mean, if I'm looking at these teams, both of their stats are pretty poor on Consulate in the immediate and in the just the last few months or so. They both teams have played it 3 times since like around December of last year. And both teams have only ever managed to win it 1 time. So with MIBR, they lost it against Ninjas in Pajamas, and then they beat Ninjas in Pajamas the time before that, lost it to, interestingly, actually, INTZ. If you look really far back in Pro League, this is apparently the same map that these teams met up on last time they played against each other, and INTZ managed to persevere in that one 7-4. So that'll be INTZ's 1 win on this map, but that was a really long time ago. That was back in January, guys, so keep that in mind. INTZ, on the other hand, since that 1 win they got against MIBR, played against FaZe twice on this map in Pro League, and lost both of those times. In fact, it was worse the second time around, losing in January and then in March to FaZe, but the 7-2 in March was much worse than the 7-4. What do you guys think? Who's going to win this match?
Not really unsurprising, though. I didn't really know going in what exactly it was going to look like, but MIBR are obviously a very well-known organization. I think you could probably call them fan favorites. They did make it into the top 8 at the 6 Invitational as well. They had a pretty decent run, so by no means is this team a bad team. They are suffering more from the fact that I think they just got off to a very slow start, and they have needed to make up ground as best as they can. Their matchup against Singularity was obviously a major, I guess, point of frustration for MIBR and their fans, but here we are with them going up against INTZ. This is an opportunity for MIBR to be able to put up points. And fun fact, Igor CTG, who's playing for INTZ right now and is currently in the lobby, he's listed as INTZ's coach. So I don't know if INTZ is just simply trying him out, or if there's something going on with VNX. I'm not entirely certain, and this hasn't been communicated to us either. So we're just as, I guess, in a state of just as much wonderment as you are, possibly at home, unless you're more in the know than we are. It could possibly be a major blow, though, to INTZ if they are playing with a coach out of poor happenstance and not particularly planned.
Yeah, it's very different. We'll see how it actually pans out for both of these teams. Looks like we have everybody ready, so as soon as we get into it, we're gonna go ahead and load. It's Consulate, INTZ versus MIBR. INTZ starting on attack, MIBR starting on defense. So let's go over the ban phase. MIBR will be the first to ban. I expect them to probably ban out Thatcher or Capital or something like that. They have been known to ban Thatcher a lot, and they do ban Thatcher on this map even, which makes the defense of the basement quite a lot easier. Now that Thatcher's banned out, possibly an IQ, also still Capital in the running here for INTZ. Either one is totally possible. If we take a look at the, oh wow, that's interesting. That's very different. So a Thermite ban coming out here. That's awesome. So that's going to mean the defense of the basement is way easier. INTZ for their defensive ban on, it's probably Echo or Maestro, and it's Echo. Probably a Valkyrie or a Mira here from MIBR. I would expect a Valkyrie because she's so powerful on this map. But Mira is, of course, Mira, and you kind of sometimes have to get rid of her. There it is. Yeah, so Mira, which means Valkyrie is going to be available.
A lot of teams actually forego banning Mira on a map like Consulate because she doesn't actually see that huge of a pick rate, but she is played in LATAM.
Yeah, she is played in LATAM quite a lot, and she can be good on Consulate.
Yeah.
Can be, right? I think that if it were up to me, I would have been Valkyrie, personally, because she is the premier information operator on this map. I mean, even if you leave Echo and Maestro in, Valkyrie is still the best information operator on Consulate specifically because of the way that the map is designed. you can get full 360-degree vision outside of the building with those 3 cameras. It's possible. No, you're not going to go for that, of course, but the ability to do it in the first place, like the fact that that can happen, is pretty crazy. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get into the actual round now. There'll be a basement defense, go figure, with a Thatcher and a Thermite band.
Yeah, this is not a surprise here. One thing I will say is I'm very glad that the defenders are bringing anti-breach utility, because we have seen a number of teams, I'm not going to name them, we've seen a number of teams ban a Thatcher and then just not run Kaid or Mute or Bandit. Also, something happened to Consulate a couple days ago where they've converted over to, I guess, energy-saving bulbs, because the map is almost entirely shrouded in darkness all over the place, and it's very obvious when you're looking in from the front door and upstairs. I don't know how much it changes with the way that people are going to play. I'm assuming it's unintentional, but it definitely will give a different vibe, a bit of a spookier vibe to this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's an even playing field for both teams, right? Like, it's not gonna inhibit one team more than the other, so it's not the end of the world. But a lot of people voicing their opinion on the darkness that has shrouded Consulate for sure. That's making his way in, and somehow Bullet misses all of the shots on the rappel. We know Bullet's on the roam though. Seems like he's fallen back already, probably thanks to the phone call from Alimau. Already control of the top floor as a result here for INTZ, and they haven't gotten the full top floor to their knowledge, but there is no roamer upstairs, so they will be able to do that relatively easily. As
you can see that it's significantly darker. It's very interesting. It is kind of spooky though. I get it. It is.
The word I'm going to use is disorienting.
For somebody that watches an awful lot of Consulate, yeah, it definitely makes things different. I don't know if it's funny, because there are probably darker uniforms that might actually do quite well in this scenario, and I don't know if teams are going to be taking advantage of that or not, but it's just been quick to the punch to walk on in. Of course, this is a basement or a bottom floor defense, depending on the way that you want to assess this map, and there's a take on the spiral stairs that Duds could have possibly been able to catch, but he looks away, and he knows that there might be somebody inside a bathroom. Going to open up that hatch, which has already been opened up for them. Hibana will go onto the wall, and Nitro Cell sails off, and there's a Mute playing that angle. Cameraman is just tucked into the corner, and unless Duds is able to walk away with this, then the defense have a great opportunity to be able to get a couple picks here. Duds low on HP, Drunk's very low on HP, and now Alimau removed by the C4 from Navis. This is an excellent start for MIBR.
It adds to it. There goes Bullet. INTZ falling apart, but Cameraman so going to get Drunks right after Duds manages to get the first kill for his team. So it's looking really good right now for MIBR, that's for sure. They also only have to hold out for 40 seconds. The drop is being held. The garage wall will not be opened up, obviously, since there's no thermite. Hibana is dead. The drops and the stairs are going to be the main focus here for the attacking team. They're not going to be able to really do very much with so little time. You can see the vertical pressure coming out here from Igor, but I mean, I'm not sure he's going to actually be able to get anything done from this position. Duds is also attempting to do the same through the holes that were made by his teammate, but the same story here. There's no one peeking these holes. Now we're getting to the last 10 seconds, and INTZ doesn't really have an avenue into the site, so they're just going to do their best to drop down and come down spiral. Navi stops the spiral push, and there goes the other through the drop. So MIBR locked that round up nice and tight.
Almost a perfect round as well for MIBR. Exceedingly well played, as they're very patient and they hold the hatches with no chance for the attackers to be able to take that garage door. You know, we knew this when the thermite ban came in. We knew this when the Thatcher ban came in, that unless you're running a Maverick, there's really no way that teams are going to be able to manage their time, manage the intel that they need to get, and then also get that garage door open. And it definitely seemed like INTZ wanted that back take. They wanted to take piano. They wanted to control the hatches, maybe get a pick or two and go from there. But their big blind spot was spiral stairs. They had to be very, very careful of the fact that somebody from MIBR was playing on it. You know, the Hibana had that looming in the back of her mind. You know, the Ash did as well. And then once you did manage to get control of piano, MIBR fell off and played the clock very well. And masterfully so, knowing that there wasn't a lot of time for INTZ to be able to actually get into the site and certainly not be able to start getting picks and then get that diffuser down.
Yeah, there are only a few minor risks taken by MIBR. and none of them are really capitalized upon by INTZ. Like, for example, the Mozzie trying to push up Banana, right? Trying to come to the top of that spiral staircase, and that is a risk, sure. But, well, the shot was not hit. I believe it was Duds who did not hit that shot, but I'm not 100% sure. Whoever it was on INTZ, that's an opportunity missed, and there weren't many others that really presented themselves because MIBR were playing very strong. I got to appreciate the patience from MIBR the same way that you do, and it is partially due to those bans on the attacking side, like you talked about. I don't know if that's going to be an option for MIBR as they go to the top floor, but I think, oh, whoa, that was an aggressive C4. I'm not sure who by, but some damage done to Duds. He's waiting patiently for somebody to drone him in before he even goes close to that window now. That C4 could have netted a couple kills there if he had been a little bit more patient.
It's waiting now, and this ability to tackle admin is an interesting one because teams don't usually aggressively hold admin, but with Mozzie it makes it a little bit more possible because as your drones go in, they just get snatched by pests. You saw a first-hand account of that happening, and there's presence from the defenders inside of Copier. Might also be trying to hold down the top of Visa stairs, and that certainly seems to be the case. Duds is allowed to walk on in, but there's nobody fighting back from MIBR. They're going to sit and wait on this reinforcement just by the vending machine, and a shotgun in hand is a perfect opportunity to do this. The shoulder scene of the Mute as bullet peaks, but Duds can't land the shots that are needed, so back the Mute will go and play in that spot as Duds looks to creep up as silently as he can. There's also a Dokkaebi in play, but if Mute's sitting on a jammer, you're not going to have to worry about too much. A deployable shield will confront Duds as he loses Drunks right in front of him. The Mute swings on out. Down goes the Dokkaebi, looking for another as bullet. He's fishing and angling for a kill, but he comes up empty. That's going to leave INTZ down below to try and tear away at some of the benefit that the defenders have. Igor can't do it quick enough, and the Mute is able to scamper off as Duds looks to try and make something happen, but he's stuck right now at vending machine. Those two picks for MIBR are the great opening that the defense need in order to put another round under their belt.
So I like that INTZ tried to approach that from below with the buck, but it was too little too late as they had already lost 2 players to that soda hold. So good setup there from MIBR. It's a classic soda hold, nothing too special about it, but they execute it well. And INTZ did not get any punish out of it at all as the players in soda fell back after they had been bucked from below. Nade going into A, looks like they're just going to try and rush their way in through the Visa staircase. The A bomb site. I mean, there's not much of an option, I suppose. They can't take long deaths because of the angles being played from bathroom and such. There's a pick on the player in A, but there's one more. That might have actually been the player connector, but still, plenty of hold on the site. From top yellow, Duds will go down. Now it's just Vitz and Igor. Igor eliminated on long. It's just Vitz now who'll get 1 in the site. Needs to find 2 more over to his right. He downs 1. Cameraman finishing off the enemy, and there's a flank from Cameraman as well. As Igor dies to the smoke, Vitz will die to the shotgun. MIBR take another defensive round. But again, a classic soda machine hold there.
There was really nothing outside of the ordinary that we saw with the team sitting on a Mute jammer, reinforcing the panel right next to Soda so that you could lean into Copier if need be, a possible rotate into that small office, somebody playing at the top of Visa's stairs. INTZ walked right into the perfect setup that MIBR had set up. And it's very funny because, well, if you read that it's a soda hold, why not maybe take from yellow? Why not maybe go from below? Why not maybe put pressure on the balcony to lead into projector? But MIBR just simply needed to wait for INTZ to commit to the push that MIBR wanted them to commit to. It's very curious. And maybe there's just a lack of flexibility from INTZ there. Maybe that lack of flexibility comes from just a discomfort with this map. I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, that's the way that MIBR really wanted that round to be played. And INTZ served it up to them on a silver platter. And you really didn't see much needing to be extended from MIBR to capitalize on it. Well, it's going to be a Teller's Archives defense down below. And this is a site that has seen its pick rate jump by quite a lot. A lot of teams favored this at the 6 Invitational, and I'm wondering if that's in large part because of some of the newer operators that are added. MIBR are very interested in running this Mute and Mozzie together, and it's going to work very well against a team like INTZ that is not necessarily the most well put together. You know, if they are in a position where they are already struggling with basic communication, then this setup will be able to exploit it greatly.
Yeah, it's worth noting for sure that MIBR have been utilizing the Mute Mozzie combo a lot more than other teams in Latin America. They're, I think, at the head of the pack when it comes to that operator selection there. They've also brought the castle as well. So this is like more of what you're used to seeing in North America or in Europe, for example. So interesting selection for sure from MIBR, and definitely very different than what we'll be seeing from some of the other teams in LATAM. It has worked out pretty well against INTZ so far, as you can see, obviously, from the scoreboard. Lion Call is going to allow entry into the admin office. It will protect them from any aggressive peeks from MIBR, but there's no one up here to peek INTZ. And now with top floor control, they're going to be able to open up above the site. This has been a decently efficient attack into admin office for INTZ. Not the most, obviously, but not bad. And judging on the operator selection for MIBR, I'd say it was pretty decently paced for INTZ.
That's not terrible at all. Half of the round has now been expended, and you've got that presence upstairs, which is exactly where you need. I will watch very intently this Lion in the hands of Alimao and see what it is able to do to maybe kickstart a better coordinated push from INTZ, which is something that they definitely need over those last 2 rounds, obviously falling somewhat short of their expectations. So we'll see if they're able to go to work as much as BattlEye is right now. Good lord, that's an awful large scroll of people that will just not be able to play again. And, well, for INTZ, 30 seconds off, and you can see from above just the work that's getting put in. Because of the fact that there's no Thatcher and there's no Thermite, you're not going to be able to get the hatch. So you're just going to have to rely on that soft destruction. And lurking upon them is going to be Navi's as he just makes his way on in towards Projector. If INTZ don't have somebody on flank, this could be huge.
Doesn't seem like they do, as Navi starts to peek into Coffin, gets the kill into Igor. That's a good start. He's going to fall back, be a little bit more passive after that. Lion EE1D will make these defenders stand still for a little bit, and that's going to allow for Alimao to get cameraman. So 4-on-4 and site control, partial site control for INTZ, of course, but they're going to have to worry about those C4s from below that MIBR are sure to have primed and ready. Here comes the push downstairs. Actually, it's not even going to be an attempted plant. At least seems like they want to clear underneath before they go for the plant. Here it is. Drunk's going for it, but the C4s downstairs are denied by Duds. Very little time to work with, though. They need to go now, and they're cleaning up shop downstairs. They can plant downstairs even now, as the diffuser's made its way down. It's spotted at the server rack, but Alimao saves it in the nick of time. It's going to be 0-0 and nearly a win for the defense, as he could have shot that planter, but Alimao shuts down Navi's as he peeks wide.
It's a rough spot to be in because you know that there's somebody that's going to be holding that angle, and I don't think that MIBR was fully aware of where that plant was going down, and just in the nick of time were they able to get it into the plant, because once that timer hits 0, well, you can't do much. But if you're in the diffuser, the round continues to go, and Drunks was a little bit exposed, but safe enough, in large part because his teammates were helping out. So, with that said, Teller's Archives is lost, so this means that if you just mirror what happened through the next 3 rounds, that MIBR should emerge 4-2, unless they manage to tighten something up. No lobby defense, though it is possible if they don't like Teller's Archives and MIBR becomes successful on both Garage and Console Office upstairs. But as that rotation goes, Garage being the first successfully defended site, then MIBR will go right back down there, and they're going to bring very similar tools, if not the same tools that they brought last time.
See if these tools are the right ones this time around, but the last time they were here, this was a pretty easy to defend site for MIBR, as Garage can't be opened up as much as you would like with a Thermite. Without a Thermite, I guess I should say. You've got the Habana, but she really doesn't do the same thing for that particular location. The Maverick can help you if you decide to bring him, but they have decided to not. And even with Maverick, it's still not great. to be honest, because opening up that wall is really not easy as a Maverick. You're very exposed when doing it. So MIB R will be able to roam vertically, and they'll be somewhat confident that they don't need to worry about much of a horizontal take from INTZ. Now, roam going into the middle and the top floor here for MIB R. Pretty extensive one at that, as they've only got 2 anchors right now.
I mean, the anchor play wasn't that important, though, for MIBR, and one of the best attributes that they had was unpredictability, especially with that play on spiral stairs, but you're not going to be able to get away with that a second time. Certainly not with INTZ being aware of it. They've dropped the Lion, though, and I think that Lion was instrumental in them being able to win that round, paralyzing the MIBR players, and then also using it to flush people out. However, Drunks, the only hard breacher from INTZ, is gone off the board just about a minute in, and an Evil Eye will do a tiny bit of damage to Duds. So MIBR get the opening pick that they need, and what this also means with the Hibana off the board is that the bathroom hold from Cameraman, who was playing it last time around, should be even stronger. If I'm INTZ, you cannot do the same thing you did last time. You will need to take from a different part of the map. You can't go through the garage door, so it's likely going to be a back take, and this is going to be extremely challenging for them.
The fact that Bullet was not punished for that rotation, caught by the air jab, but not by the player himself. Cameraman downed elsewhere, though. Navi's gets the C4 on Duds. A reload here for IQ is caught, and Bullet will get that kill. Cameraman has been down, but he might actually be salvageable depending on his location. There's Igor gone on the yellow stairs, and it's all on Vitz, who dies on Banana. MIBR, a flawless round in really quick order.
You lose the hard breach, and what do you got to do? You have to go for the narrow avenues that exist. That's it, I guess. And I think INTZ was like, we don't really have the hatches open. We don't really have the ability to open garage. What are we going to do? You know?
Yeah, and they didn't really have any, they didn't have options that they were comfortable with, I suppose. The biggest thing is also they struggled with the roamers, and even with just a retaking roamer, they have like an air jab and then not getting the player who's hit by the air jab as he attempts to rotate on Visa stairs. That's a big no-no for INTZ for sure. A round that, or not a round, but a kill at least that could have gone a different way. They're bringing back the Lion in lieu of the Dokkaebi. And I agree with that choice because, as you said, Parker, the Lion really did help out INTZ in the one round that they managed to win, in making the MIBR players stand still for prolonged periods, and it allows INTZ the extra second or two that they needed to catch up to their enemy, because that's what's really seeming to be the theme of this match, is INTZ is almost lagging behind in a lot of these engagements. And, I mean, you look at the scoreboard for INTZ right now. I don't really need to describe it any further than what you can see yourself. It's not great.
I mean, no, it's not great. Also, the one question that really hasn't been answered yet is whether Igor is actually playing deliberately, or if something just happened with VNX and it was hauled in as an emergency stand-in. Because if that's the case, I can totally understand a team being, thrown off its groove and thrown off entirely by somebody having to come in, even if it is a coach, having to come in and fulfill a role or a responsibility that you're not accustomed to doing.
Yeah, I think that I can't imagine it's deliberate. So given that, there's definitely some leniency that we need to apply to the result here for INTZ, but we don't know, of course. So it's going to be an entry to admin, and this is playing right into MIBR's hands once again, as they are setting up for a soda hold. We all have seen how this one transpires. The soda hold worked out great for MIBR last time they were here, if you weren't watching at that point. Might be a little bit different now that INTZ has managed to get into admin a little bit faster than usual. They're also going to open up the top of Visa's staircase. That's going to be really good control, as there's one less angle they need to worry about now. That's the one from sight. There's still a lot of pressure being applied from the shield and the player at Soda Machine himself. So it's not a completely dealt with hold here. MIBR is even going to get the first kill from Navis, who's roaming downstairs.
And he takes out Vitz. I would hope that if I'm INTZ that you've gotten all your air jabs out at this point, because that is obviously a flank route that will need to be taken by Navi's. Bullet has lost the wall and will now slowly back up, and with him, Cyber will go as well. They can't rotate in a projector through the opening, obviously done so that it will hurt the attackers, but also allow the attackers to continue to claw away a little bit more of the map, piece by piece from Copier. Back into the presence of Mute Jammers, you'll free up one of the drones, and, well, even though Navi's and Bullet, I think, have done just an exquisite job of being able to stop the intel from INTZ, you still haven't really been able to get the gunfights that you need. In fact, MIBR has led in opening duels every single round right now, and they just marked things off with a flawless round, so it's been quite a while from INTZ has been able to do all that much. They nearly lose their buck playing by Soda, and obviously that is a major detriment. He has to back off just a tiny bit, maybe cut through some utility, as Navi's lurks down below and will be stopped for but a moment. The Nomad being taken out earlier on will allow Navi's to possibly get on back in. The cameraman falls on site, and it clearly appears to be a last-minute play. A possible diffuser being planted from INTZ being met with a C4 from below. And that's what Navi is going to do. He's just going to stare at the double windows, wait for the rest of INTZ to rotate, and there's only a tiny bit of time left. Down goes Cyber. Igor trades out a little bit more HP. Navi's with one. He'll have to confront Alimau down below. Drunks falls, and with it, Diffuser is on the ground. 10 seconds left for INTZ to be able to pick that one up, but they're getting chewed through, leaving Alimau in a 1v3, but it doesn't matter because the final 3 kills all go into the hands of the Maestro and M-King. He's there to put his own stamp on the round, proving that an ACOG isn't the be-all, end-all. It's 4-1 in favor of MIBR and what is a defender-sided Dame Michael, and they are looking pretty good with INTZ struggling to keep up.
Yeah, M-King putting up the performance that's necessary. That's why you rely on your Maestro quite a lot. I mean, we've seen numerous times teams that rely on their Maestro to allow roamers. When Maestro gets banned, it becomes a problem for them to defend. But when he's available, what that means is that, oh my gosh, wow, it really is going wild today. Just as a quick aside, that's a lot of bans. And we've been seeing that like ramp up over the last few days. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so when a Maestro's unbanned, basically what it means is that he, as a operator, can anchor generally more space than most other operators. And the removal of the ACOG, of course, hinders that to an extent, but it's mostly about the LMG itself and not so much about the optic that you put on top of it. So yeah, with Maestro anchoring the site from connector and M-King hitting his shots, that means you can put 2 players with C4s down in the main lobby, and that's extra double down on C4 from below to be sure that no one's going to plant in the bomb site, even if you lose control of it. So that freedom being afforded to MIBR is being utilized in its entirety, thanks to their operator selection and their positioning. Smart by them. This is the last round of the first half. Last chance for INTZ to get an attack round. We'll see if they manage it. MIBR have been looking pretty solid so far, so it's definitely gonna be a tough one for INTZ. They're continuing to bring the line though, and I think that's the right decision, as they've definitely needed it to get any kills at all.
Just trying to work around that pest. I think it might have just been lost. Yeah, there goes one drone. Nothing for Navi's to be able to do there. He's been on fire today, and, well, the old MIBR often lived and died off of Navi's and Cyber playing out of their minds and being supported well by this team with the occasional solid performance from Bullet. Adding Cyber to help out with M-King, who M-King ended up being probably MIBR's best player at the 6 Invitational, has allowed a very deep squad to thrive. And in the very final defensive round for MIBR, they are, once again, going to Tellers and Archives. They do not want to deal with this lobby one bit. Now, they lost this site very quickly, even though they didn't have the Hibana to try to chew through any of those reinforcements, because obviously they were kited. Can't really do much against that Electric Claw. There's no Maverick that's being played by INTZ, even though it's available. And a large part of that is Duds, and he's just been running Rampage all day. He's only got 5 kills, but they've mostly all been totally impactful. He finds 2, and the Maestro will engage with the Lion. Drops 1, looks for the second, but he doesn't hit the headshot on to Drunks. That's him firing back. Up the stairs comes Bullet, and well, there's 1 minute and 30 seconds left, with Navi's now here too. And MIBR very quickly turned what was a massive deficit into an advantage. They are now tied 2v2, but you don't have anybody on flank watch. Bullet plows through Drunks. And it's the IQ upstairs. Equalizing on the Navis as the pacing on this round has been all over the place, leaving Bullet and Vitz in a 1v1. A minute left to go for the IQ, and she'll pull out that scanner and likely go to work.
Slow going here, I'm sure, for Vitz. He's got a minute. Well, I mean, less than, but about that to work with, so he doesn't need to rush himself. Trying to find out where his enemy is, but this is really brazen, and it's going to be punished by Bullet. MIBR takes the round. Bullet, a really impactful one himself. And I really am not sure what that IQ was thinking. I can't imagine rushing down those stairs in a 1v1 like that. He had about 45 seconds. An interesting round.
You had tons of time, right? At that point, like, what are you gonna do? I mean, maybe IQ didn't have any drones. Maybe there was no drones to play off of. Maybe just try to catch him off guard, knowing that it's a Kaid. If you can just simply dance around a TCSG and get them to engage in longer range, IQ definitely. I don't know if you'd agree with me. I think IQ definitely has the major upside in terms of kit. You know, the TCSG versus a G8. I'd much rather have the G8 in that instance.
I think for me in a 1v1, I'd rather have the TCSG-12 just because it nukes people so reliably. I mean, they're both really good guns, but the G8's main advantage is its ammunition, right?
I would say so. I mean, the TCSG also hits very differently on LAN and online, and we talk about this often. I specifically mention it because there are a lot of players who speak openly about how they don't feel consistent with the TCSG because the way it bobbles after that first shot, unless it's at super close range, you're dealing with having to control an unwieldy beast of a gun. And I mean, we saw NIP almost win a world championship running double TCSG, foregoing most of their shotguns on defense. It was something that you talked about, and it's not a bad gun. It's just, it has to be played a certain way. MIBR here, very quick right out the gate, and I'm curious, is this going to be a garage take for them? Down below is where INTZ is going to be. They might actually just go right in. This looks like it's going to be a rush strat, and there they go, but it's answered immediately. They're wasting no time. Igor gets one kill, but then immediately hides out inside of Tellers. Ali Mao is able there to answer Navi's with one, but capitalized upon by INTZ as they find 3 frags, leaving Bullet and Cameraman to die. That round is over. The 20-second meta, why do they call it that? Well, because they're all dead in 20 seconds. INTZ is gifted a free round off a very ballsy play from MIBR that doesn't really go anywhere except for a foot or two into the building.
Yeah. Obviously, the 20-second meta is usually because the attack comes down to the last 20 seconds. And the funny bit about it is that we're just not seeing that adhered to in LATAM. Whether it be in this match or in the previous matches today, it's just not really been the case. They're playing a very different style. In that last round, we saw most of that came down to happenstance, and that's really how it works with rush strategies. So MIBR went for the rush, and it just so happens that Igor was playing by Visa Hallway. So he calls that out to his team, and he gets a kill to boot. So round basically over at that point. Very little chance that MIBR is going to be able to make a recovery because they're funneling their way into Banana, and that could be clamped down upon by INTZ, and they reacted quickly. And again, that's down to happenstance. If Igor's not in that hallway, rush trap might have been a little bit more successful. It might have worked out for them. We don't know, of course, but, well, that's just kind of how rushes work. They're all kind of up in the air until they're finished. There's no like concrete way to just make it work. An interesting decision there from MIBR. Not a bad one necessarily, considering the substantial lead, but an interesting one. Different is what I'll say.
Spot for MIBR to find themselves, though, because they really, I mean, they really could have just put their boot on the throat of INTZ with this. And how many times do we see this? We see a team that has a really long lead or a really big lead that's been playing confidently, just decide on their very first attack, let's just run right into the site as quickly as we can. Let's just take full advantage of it. And it very rarely seems to work because the defenders are usually set up enough where there is no, there is no aspect of surprise.
Yeah, and that is what you rely on with those rush strategies. Now, it is going to be a different bomb site now, and that Thermite Thatcher ban situation is not going to impede your progress on a top floor attack nearly as much as a bottom floor attack. So MIBR will probably not bring out a rush strategy here. I mean, it's possible that when MIBR banned Thatcher, and then it was followed up by INTZ's Thermite ban, it's possible that the thought process there was like, oh yeah, we're going to rush when we get to the basement attack. We're just going to do it. And they knew that that was going to happen, but what they don't know is whether the nades will land. In this case, it does. Cyber does get Alamau, who's playing at the top of yellow stairs, and that's going to give them control of yellow as soon as they seize upon it. M-King cuts the rotation off of Vitz down. Actually, I think that was upstairs as well. And you can see the insert here into yellow. Once they get control of this, they have control of CEO, and they can go for a plant.
It's the entry that you want, and I imagine what MIBR was expecting in that previous round, they just decided to bulldoze their way into the site and maybe get a pick or two. It's going to force INTZ to have to rotate from the bottom stairs all the way up to the top, and that's Drunks, and he might find himself in a really rough spot, pausing for but a second as his teammate Igor is there, and, well, the mute is caught. As dead as can be, the IQ will run up the stairs, leaving Duds in a position to just watch as another body hits the floor. This time it's Igor, and the IQ will see Duds through the holes that have been opened up by the defenders as the Jaeger plays around the downturn table inside a meeting hall. A couple shots from Yellow will give his position away. Diffuser goes down, and well, he's got tons of marks, but he's got some barricades and some reinforcements in the way that he's going to have to go through. A timer as well will be ticking and working against him. We've seen Jaegers do absolutely magical things, but there will be no hope or no illusion for Duds. He's buried inside of meeting, and that's it. 6 rounds for MIBR. They guarantee themselves at least 1 point, and they'll sit on match point in what has been our quickest matchup of the day.
Quickest matchup in a while, for me at least. Usually you see them transpire this fast. A big part of that is number one. Again, we're not seeing the 20-second meta being upheld here. These matches or these rounds individually are going quite quickly. And thing number two, of course, this has just been a really one-sided affair. INTZ are struggling to get a hold on this match, and MIBR is not really letting any opportunity present itself. Some simple things are happening too that really shouldn't be happening. For example, INTZ playing Alamau at the top of yellow stairs. Just wow, another one. That was another massive ban phase. I'm getting distracted. It's so big. Anyway, INTZ playing at the top of yellow stairs. That's acceptable, of course. You know, top of yellow stairs control is very important for holding on to CEO. In fact, it's the primary way you hold on to CEO. But usually what you're going to see if you are holding top of yellow is maybe it's a Wamai or like sacking all of your Jaeger ADSs there. And if you lose your ADSs, then usually the person playing that position falls back, but not so with Alamau. He tried and failed to fall back after he'd lost all of his protection and got caught by an nade. And it's small things like that going in the favor of MIBR that are really the undoing of INTZ, that they're not getting a real opportunity to win because they're not giving themselves an opportunity by the way that they're playing.
INTZ just really look like they're suffering from a lack of coordination, and this isn't the INTZ team that we saw in the first half. This was a team I think that came out the gates and was surprising a lot of people with how they were keeping up with some of the titans of the region. And after getting, you know, that pilot program skin, I know a lot of people were kind of confused by that because INTZ was never a staple at the top of the scoreboards or standings, and they seem to be proving a lot of people wrong. Once again, I'm going to circle back to having Igor on this team. If it's just an emergency play, I can totally understand why they look like they are just lagging behind their usual level of play. It's just simply because of the fact that they have a stand-in and they're playing essentially a man down. Not that Igor hasn't performed well. He's doing better statistically than 2 people on the team in roles that are largely thankless, and I mean, that's kind of what you expect. He's on a bit of a safe role with safe guns, but he is also in a position where he can just be kind of left to die. Still, you looked at 9XT on FaZe as a great example of this at the Tokonami Finals. 9XT is a Pro League caliber player. He's always done well in the teams he's played on. When he was on Pain, he was one of their standout performers. But if you come in and you don't know the system that well, or you have to have somebody tell you what to do, or you have to constantly be asking or second guessing, then you find your team at a massive disadvantage. And that's what could very well be happening with INTZ here. Regardless, it's very hard to tell from this one sample size if MIBR is just playing better than before, or they're just benefiting from a team that is in a state of disarray.
There's also Cameraman to be considered, and yeah, he's a new addition to the team, but he is, of course, a very experienced player, and he could be bringing quite a lot to MIBR as a squad. So where INTZ is having their listed coach we brought into play. MIBR has had their, has had a high caliber player fill in a spot. So it's a very different situation for these two teams right now. And it's a bad spot for INTZ, to be sure. So they're defending Archives Tellers, and every single one of the defenders are currently on the bottom floor. It's a pretty clear setup here, trying to go for C4 from below. They've got probably 4 C4s, maybe a little bit less, but they could easily have 4. And that's going to be a lot of explosive power denying a plant in Tellers. MIBR is probably going to read this and try to go for a take downstairs, try and collapse underneath. Now, it's never easy to do, and with only 30 seconds, it'll be much more difficult.
This is really brutal timing for MIBR. Unless they've somehow managed to line up everything and then push all together, a frag grenade will start off the festivities as it finds itself in the lap of Ali Mao, and the Mozzie will pop on up, and down will go Navi's on the stairs. Immediately onto Cam, he will go and scamper back in towards the back of the site as he will lose the hatch above him. But you see how perilously low the timer is. M-King attempting a plant. Nobody seems to be watching it as INTZ and MIBR are just trading out left and right. The C4 will need to stop M-King in its tracks. It'll miss. It's him against 2 members of INTZ, and he'll head upstairs knowing that he's got the soft destruction, but there better be a drone to watch. He's still got one on the board. Has it been snatched by the Mozzie? We don't know. The pulse from INTZ will be absolutely crucial right now to determine the location, and given how the heartbeat sensor works, they'll see him all the way above. One member of INTZ might be dispatched to head up towards Spiral Stairs, but no, there's going to be one over towards Visa. Down goes Vitz. The cardiac sensor is gone. It's going to be Duds now in a 1v1. He starts to defuse. Spotted, unable to take the shots through the metal beams, and M-King knows that this is all on him. One single shot. That'll end the round. That'll end the match. Duds is gone, and M-King with a heroic attempt. And 2 huge clutches in this match. It's MIBR. Absolutely punishing INTZ 7-2 on Consulate.
Big win there for M-King individually, and it really was him who managed to take that one. He is the star of that show for sure, because you're right, you said it in the shoutcasting, nobody was watching for his plan, which is really interesting, I have to say, because that should have been a much more monitored situation, but not the case. I mean, the explosive push from the other 4 players on MIBR to just go downstairs,